Take a look at that beautiful, peaceful, banging aquarium you have sitting over there against the wall. It looks perfect, right? It looks exactly the way you want it. What if I told you it was a ticking time bomb? What if I told you it was a silent underwater tomb just waiting to happen? Here's the kicker. What if I also told you you were the one that lit the fuse to the bomb? Kablooey, blam, pow. Nah, but you thought you had a peaceful underwater paradise, didn't you? Didn't you? These ain't some fatal flaws, some one-off mistakes. These are the 7 deadly sins that'll turn your peaceful aquarium into a toxic wasteland. These heinous acts of destructions is committed by fish keepers all over the world, every day, all day. Beginners, by seasoned aquarists, by me, and by you. Look, fish keeping, it's a marathon. It ain't a sprint. It's designed to bring peace, tranquility, all within the confines of your own home without having to go deep diving into the ocean or a pond or a lake or whatever it is that you got to get your underwater fix from. But we've all been through this situation, and if you haven't been there yet, you will. Fish suddenly dies. Algae breaks out of nowhere and starts scratching at your glass like a bunch of zombies trying to get in at your window. An ammonia bloom busts out of nowhere for no apparent reason that you can figure. It's very frustrating. It make you slap your mama. Today we're going to go over these common mistakes. Today we are going to go over 7 deadly fish keeping sins. And why am I calling them sins? It's simple. We know better, or we should know better, and we wasn't told better by someone at the LFS. Sin on them, right? Wishful thinking, carelessness, overconfident in your abilities. These are a couple of things that will cause a lot of the problems that fish keepers go through. But there's good news. For every sin, there's a path to redemption. A way to not only get these aquariums to survive, but to thrive. Whether it's a 10-gallon desktop tank or 100-gallon big old monster tank, some truths are just universal and holy as hell. Sin numero uno, pride. See, I don't know too much about this particular sin because I'm Puerto Rican, and naturally we're a pretty humble and modest bunch of people. Pride pretty much goes hand in hand with arrogance. Arrogance enough to think that you could set up a tank and put fish in it right away and totally bypass the nitrogen cycle without any consequences whatsoever. Adding fish to an aquarium before it has a sustainable beneficial bacteria colony set up is probably the #1 reason why beginner fish keepers totally kill their fish when they first start. And let's be real, this affliction also affects some seasoned fish keepers who have very low self-control issues, but not me though. See, it's super important to establish your nitrogen cycle before you add the fish in there, because without doing that, you're basically putting your fish into a toxic environment where your fish are going to be bombarded with poison and other things that can, you know, it can be like gluten, just gluten for fish. Like, you know how gluten's bad for people, apparently? Well, think of it like gluten for fish. You don't want that, so they say. Now, there are cheat codes to bypass the nitrogen cycle, and you can put fish in your aquarium instantly. A lot of old timers know exactly what I'm talking about. But the reason why I don't really like talking about it too much is because I feel it's super important for you to know what it is that you're cheating on. I'm going to leave a it's probably one of the most important videos, in my opinion, that I've ever done. And that is understanding the nitrogen cycle. And once you know the nitrogen cycle, you can pretty much keep any fish alive. And if you have problems in the future, you'll know how to fix them, so you won't be killing your fish and getting pissed off and throwing your tank out the window. Once you know that, by all means, cheat code your little heart out. But until then, stop being so arrogant, do the work. I don't have that problem though, because I'm Puerto Rican and we just pious. Sin number overdose, gluttony. This is the sad part about the sin of gluttony. It comes from a human compassionate place in our hearts. We pass our fish tank. We know good and well we fed the fish, but they're all up at the tank just feed me, please, feed me, please. And we're just suckers. We just be like, oh, you're so cute. We just give you a little extra because you've been such a good little fishy. And we overfeed the fish tank. Now, while we think we're doing a good thing, we're doing so much harm to our aquarium. If nobody ever told you this, please let me be the first to tell you. Your fish are damn liars, okay? They're filthy, dirty liars. The issue of feeding fish is one of my #1 biggest issues that I probably preach about. I wish I felt something more strongly about, but for me it's feeding fish because it's the #1 thing that we do directly on a regular basis that is terrible for our fish, where we are actively murdering our fish with over loving them. See, you feed a fish too much. All the extra food that they cannot eat goes into the filter. Now the filter doesn't make the extra food just magically disappear. It changes it into different stuff. Some of this stuff could be harmful also in large doses. Some of that food gets to the bottom and dissolves and becomes ammonia, overloading your beneficial bacteria. It's all bad, all bad. The fish do extra doo-doo because it has so much food, creating ammonia. There's nothing good that will ever come out of overfeeding your fish. Absolutely nothing. Even people who overfeed their fish on purpose to grow them out faster understand this and have ways of overcoming the overfeeding that they're doing to your aquarium with ungodly amounts of extra water changes. Ungodly amounts that most people who have aquariums just for decoration in their home aren't prepared or willing to do. So as a hobbyist, just having an aquarium just for decoration and enjoying your fish, the best thing you could do is actually cut back. Less is more when it comes to feeding fish. They say that a fish's eyeball is about the size of how big their stomach is. I don't know how true that is, but I will say this. They don't have a whole lot of guts. If you ever looked inside of a fish, their guts is takes up about, depending on the fish you have, takes up less room than their head. So that can't be too off base. If your fish's belly is flat or a little bit, bulging just a little bit, then they have plenty to eat. If it's concave inward, then you might want to go ahead and up the feeding schedule. They don't need to eat as much as you think. Deadly sin #3, greed. Greedy. We all been there. We go to the local fish store. We see that one fish that we didn't necessarily ever see before in our life, but we saw it for the first time. Even though our fish tank is already pretty much packed, we think to ourselves, I think it'll work. I'm pretty sure I can. Then there's this little voice in the back of your head saying, do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not even going to talk about fish aggression, because when it comes to a lot of fish, there are so many variables. And there has been so many times where I said to somebody, yes, that will work. And then this random, generally peaceful fish turns into the demon devil spawn himself. And then there are fish that I would have swore up and down would just kill each other on sight and just became Bert and Ernie. So aside from aggression, let's talk about the strain it puts on your beneficial bacteria, your filtration. Imagine this, okay? You buy your first home, a little 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, right? And you're so happy, you're gonna throw a housewarming party. You invite all your friends for a cookout. 3 of your aunties bring huge trays of deviled eggs, 3, all different types of formulas of deviled eggs. Everybody's just gobbling them up. Remember, I told you you had 1.5 bath. You're gonna be damned if you're gonna let most of these people use the master bath, right? So you got all these cats eating barbecue ribs and chicken and nasty macaroni and cheese and nasty potato salad and trays upon trays upon trays of deviled eggs, and they're all cramming into that little half bathroom. Can you imagine the horrors and the strain and stress you're gonna be putting on that little half bathroom from all them nasty butts? It's an oversimplification, but it's kind of the same thing. Your aquarium, like that house, was not designed for that much waste. Your house eventually those people are going to leave. But in your aquarium, those fish are stuck there and they're going to keep crapping in that little half bath. So you're going to overload your system and you're going to have all kinds of problems. Polluted water, gluten all over the place. It's just bad news all around. The path to redemption is this. If you see a fish that you really want, that it's a first time, oh, I never knew about this fish, I gotta have it. Have some self-control. Get yourself another aquarium. I know, you're like, what? Getting a whole nother tank just for one fish that I saw? Trust me, you are not gonna have the issue of greed just this one time. You're gonna find other fish that you're gonna wanna get at the spur of the moment, and you will happen to have a place to put them. Opposite of greed is a little bit of self-control, which I have in spades. Sin number 4. Sin number 4 is a double-edged sword. It's the sin of sloth. The first side of the sin of sloth is laziness. You get your aquarium, yeah, you heard all the stories about doing regular water changes. You heard all those things of regular maintenance and how it's so beneficial, but you let it slide one weekend for a good reason. You probably worked overtime and you just were so tired, or you went out of town. Guess what? Nothing happened. Your tank was perfectly fine. You've been spending all this time worried to death and keeping the strict schedule of keeping your maintenance, on point. And this one time you let it slide, the world kept turning. And you thought to yourself, that wasn't so bad. So it starts to become more of a regular thing, right? It may do fine for you for a little while, but eventually all that laziness and doing your water changes and cleaning out your filters will catch up to you. And when it does, it's going to be catastrophic. Trust me. Usually when things go wrong, they go wrong fast. This is why a lot of people say get the biggest tank you can. When things go wrong, the larger amount of water you have, the more chances you have to catch it before it goes nuclear. The smaller amount of water, it goes through the tank like that. Now, there's this phenomenon of the natural tank where people have come up with a method over years of keeping aquariums where they can not do water changes and not do this and not do that. Basically, they do absolutely nothing to a tank, and you will see this on YouTube. I would suggest before you get into anything like that, know the basics of how to keep an aquarium first, the nitrogen cycle, keep an aquarium the traditional way, and if this is something you wanted to do, then experiment. I cannot do that. Me personally cannot do that. I don't fault people for doing it. There are some people who are totally against it, 100%. There are some people who've been doing it for years who say, stop hating on me. I've been doing it for years. Stop yelling at me. Some people call it lazy. Some people call it innovative. I don't know, whatever you... Don't try that yet. Get a little time underneath your belt, then go into it. Second side of sloth is overcompensating and buying high-tech this and high-tech that, and I'm gonna get this canister filter because I don't have to clean it out for 6 months, and I'll get the UV sterilizer, and I'll get the auto feeder, and I'll get you get all this high-tech stuff so you don't have to do a damn thing. And while I see the benefits of that, if you're a busy person and you don't necessarily want to be in your tank all the time, you want to spend the majority of your fish keeping time observing and enjoying your aquarium, I definitely see that. But I will tell you this, all that extra time, right, cost money. Time or money? Money or time? If you're gaining time, you're losing money. That equipment gets pricey. It really does. The other problem I have with that is with the canister filter. The canister filter is something that I have a problem with because it's out of sight, out of mind. And you have that sucker running and you're like, oh, I haven't cleaned it out in 3 months, 4 months, whatever you decided to set your schedule at. And you forget to do it, and 6 months have gone by, your tank is still clean and it's still going strong. You're like, just like when you missed your maintenance schedule, nothing's happened yet, and you let that slide too. So sloth has different faces, right? But it's all under the umbrella of being a lazy sack of crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. The fifth sin is wrath. This comes with aggression. Wrath, aggression, violence. This comes with adding fish that aren't compatible with each other, or overstocking, or there's a bunch of reasons why wrath occurs. It could come when fish are you add fish that are prolific breeders and you didn't know. Hey, they gotta sell on convicts, buy 6 for $3. Yeah, I'll do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, look how pretty that Oscar is. It's only, look, mom, the Oscar is this big. Don't do that. If you buy certain fish and they become mean, certain fish tell you that they're mean. Red devils, green terras, black nasties, convicts, wolf cichlids. If you see those names, just assume wrath is involved. For beginners, I don't really blame you guys too much because you depend on YouTubers and people from your local fish store to give you the right advice because you don't know. You can't always rely on the people on YouTube. You can rely on me. Please rely on me. Subscribe to my channel and rely on me. Hit the bell and rely on me. Ultimately though, fish be fishing. Sin number 6, envy. Coveting that which is not yours. Keeping up with the Joneses. Go to your buddy's house. Your buddy got a fish. It looks nice. It looks better than the fish you have at home. So what do? You get that fish. Or you get a fish that looks better than his fish. He goes to your house. He gets fish that looks better than your fish. And on and on and on. Next thing you know, you have a whole bunch of fish that you didn't really want. You just wanted to show up the next guy. Or don't really work in your aquarium. Worse yet, and more probable, way more probable, is you see a fish on a YouTube channel because some YouTuber bought a fish for the sole purpose of making content, but really didn't have any real intent on keeping it. Influencers, we're influencers, right? So he or she influences you and you try to monkey do, right? You try to monkey do. Here's the problem with that. You end up with a whole bunch of fish that somebody else likes, or a whole bunch of fish that aren't your style. I personally believe that we all have fish that suit our style, our personality, our habits. If you start buying fish on the sole basis of what somebody else has, you're gonna have a lot of issues. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You see that guy with that big old monster truck with the souped up engine, jacked up. He bought it out of nowhere. One day he had a little teeny weeny hatchback. The next thing you know, he's got this monster truck. The truck can pull freaking other trucks twice the size out of a mud hole. It can haul cattle and it can climb mountains. But the dude lives in a studio apartment in Brooklyn. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. It's a social status for a lot of people. Some of these fish that people get. Some of the ones that just jump off at the top of my head are stingrays. That's a fish that I see people get because they're cool. And if you get them, then you're cool, or you're a better fish keeper than other people. At one point it used to be discus. Discus was a fish that if you kept discus, oh, you're special. But a lot of discus died, just like a lot of stingrays die. And a lot of money was spent and burnt up. Find what fish is best for you and do the best with that particular fish. Because let me be 100% honest with you, and any true fish keeper would agree with me. If I had to choose between a stunning, healthy, bright, vibrant jewel cichlid, which is a dime a dozen, and a sickly, skinny, tore up, colorless, bland discus, I go for the jewel every day. In the comments, tell me if I'm lying. Sin number 7, probably my favorite sin, lust. This is where your eyes get you in trouble, and it kind of goes hand in hand with envy a lot of times. Lust could mean a whole bunch of different things. It takes a lot of different forms. Lust definitely tests your self-control. You love the look of that beautifully bright, shimmering tank that you spent so much money on putting together. You always want to be able to see it at any given time of the day. You want it. You got to have that vision on tap. So you leave the lights on 24/7. Well, now you have an algae problem. Another form of lust is like keeping up with the Joneses. Doing what other people do, even if it's not right for you. Your heart is not in it. Or maybe it's getting that itty bitty little nano tank that needs constant attention, but you mess around and you're kind of slothy. Or you see that fish at the aquarium and you lust after it. You gotta have it no matter what. And you go ahead and put it in your aquarium. Lust. Lust is just a cool word to say, just lust. 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 Look, we all been guilty at one of these sins in some form or the other. And if you haven't done them yet because you're new to the hobby and you haven't had enough time to, you will. I have never committed any of these sins personally, as much as some of them sound so much fun to do. Lust. I'm not done committing a lot of these sins. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen again and again and again. We just have to try our best to not fall into these traps. And when we do fall into these traps, we have to rectify it. Did I say rectify? And if we do fall into these traps, we have to I think I said it right the first time. Editing. That's what editing's for. I hope you found this video helpful. And to take it a step further, I'm going to put a link to that video on the nitrogen cycle I was talking about somewhere up here. If you enjoyed yourself, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you have done. Confess your sins. Spill your guts, man.